Any of you at the annual forum we held October 14th? Well, you're going to get a lot of repeat here, but that's okay. Repetition hopefully is reinforcing. Hopefully. Just I'm going to try to take a look at this morning with you, and I've got about 15 minutes worth of material here. Depending on how quickly I speak, I should warn you I am from New York, where we don't have any pizza. So, as I speak, I may rattle. Slow me down, that's okay. Anyway, employment trends and consequences. We'll look at local. We've got some national numbers just as a reference point. We'll take a look at two specific consequences of what's going on with the lack of job growth. What's been keeping us afloat? And keeping us afloat becomes real important because it's not a sustainable activity that's keeping us afloat right now. We've got some projections about where things are likely to go. These aren't my projections. These come from the state of Colorado. All right, so an independent source, anyone can go out there and verify them, which is the motto of everything I try to do. It shouldn't be just what I think. It should be based upon facts that anyone can go out and verify. We may have different thought processes about it, but we should agree upon the facts. I then ran a couple of what we call scenario analyses on these things, these projections. Gee, what if we just changed a couple of little things? What might happen? It's a legitimate question. You can't change everything, so just change a couple of things and see what happens. Then I have a challenge for you at the end of all this. The challenge you see is a lot of, yay, great, but I've yet to see a check for it, so we'll find out. This is interesting. Here's jobs down here in the red. Going back to 2000, we have fewer people working today than we did in 2000. Yet population has grown almost 20%. Oh, this is not good. See, how can this possibly happen? Exactly, how can this possibly happen? Now, there are a lot of reasons for that, and we'll get to some of those possible reasons in a couple of minutes here. The net effect of that is, what do you think happens with the unemployment rate? Forget the business recession issues. When we've got more people coming than our jobs growing to accommodate those people, and they aren't all retired who are arriving, and they aren't all under the age 16 arriving. There are a lot of people in the 16 to 65 age group here. The net effect is unemployment is high. I didn't update for this latest number. The unemployment number just came out yesterday, I think. It's about 9, dropped a little bit, 9.3. We actually added a couple of people more working than actually entered the labor force. So it's a small decrease, but it's too small to get really excited about. The effect of that is this. Did you read what the Federal Reserve just announced? They had the meeting Wednesday. They're expecting high unemployment rates for the next 3 years. They do not see growth. Right? It's a serious circumstance that we're facing in the country. One of the drivers of the economy is what we call a primary employer. A primary employer, for lack of a better definition, is often described as a business that half of its revenues come from outside the area. At least half of its revenues come from outside the area. I think that's a little myopic in definition, to be honest with you, because everyone who brings a dollar in is a primary employer to some extent. Whether you're a principal, primary, or secondary, I don't care. Bring money in from outside the community. Why? When was the last time you purchased an automobile manufactured in El Paso County? Me neither. So every time you buy a car, what are you doing? You're sending your money someplace else, whether it's Detroit, Japan, Korea, I don't care where it is, it's going someplace other than the local economy. If you just did that, how long before you would exhaust all of your wealth in the community? It would happen. I don't know exactly when, but it would happen. So we have to sell things to other people to bring money back into the community. That's the primary employer role. Now, we tend to track these. This is something that the EDC started doing years ago. We've continued it as a process. Unfortunately, we don't have it going back far enough. We used to have this going back to the 90s, but the government changed the definition of how they classify things. So we can only get a few more recent years that are consistently defined. Visitor and recreation is an area that's being pushed. It's almost understandable about the jobs, but this is not a growth area. Why? Not only does it not have many jobs, but it pays about $22,000 a year. You don't want to grow something with a $22,000 income when your community average is currently $42,000 or $44,000. You assure yourself you'll reduce your income numbers. What about membership organizations? It's lost a little membership the last couple of years in terms of people working there. Most of that is focused on the family, some internal headaches, which are becoming national, etc. But, despite the small decrease here, they pay okay. I'll take that. I like them more than I like the visitor and recreation industry, just because of the wages that they bring. Sports industries. So where are the Olympics in here? They're national nonprofits, membership organizations, okay? This is the arts center. This is the minor league baseball team. That's what this is here. This is an area that's terrible for employment. We've got 700 people working in it, and they make about $25,000 a year. This is not a good thing to promote. What starts getting interesting is information processing. Telecommunications, data centers, things like that, programmers. MCI WorldCom used to have over 5,000 people working just in town. Of course, that's shrunk a whole lot since then. Verizon's taken over. It hasn't shrunk because Verizon has taken over. It's shrunk because things have changed. But this area here, a large number of people working, they get paid nice wages. I like this sector. Complex electronics. This used to be up here. Used to be about 17,000, 18,000 people in this area a few years back, in the late 90s, early 2000 period. And we just keep losing jobs here. And they're nice to have too. They pay, this is just wages, this does not include the benefits. But this sector pays $75,000 a year right now. Between telecom and manufacturing of complex electronics, since 2000, we've lost 17,000, 19,000 jobs, paying $75,000, $85,000 a year. Is there any wonder why wealth seems to be deteriorating in the community? If nothing else, you measure wealth by the value of homes. All right, so we got some real structural problems here. Financial services has taken a hit the last couple of years. Most of that is attributed to, in our opinion, the change in financing mortgages, mortgage brokers, and things like that. It's not really the banks. We haven't lost banks. We haven't lost investment bankers, investment counselors, and financial planners. And they pay pretty well, too. The last category that pays real well is professional technical. That's done well. That's the fastest growing thing for us. That's the area we have to watch out for, too. A lot of these jobs are military related. Budget Control Act 2011, passed on August 1st by the House, signed by the President August 2nd. What has to happen? Another $850 billion has to come out of the military if we don't agree on whatever comes out of this Committee of 12, which then has to be approved by the Congress. If they don't agree, half the cut has to come out of the military. By the way, El Paso County captured 1% of the Department of Defense total budget last year. We're a small little nothing. And there's no Navy presence here, guys. They're all someplace else. We don't have a lot of armed services to really point to, but we took 1% of the budget. Man, if this gets cut, are there going to be jobs lost? Yeah. So anyway, the wages number, the ratio of employment to population, kind of always an interesting number. It varies depending upon where you are in the country. We're falling real fast. We used to be ratio of population employment, it's roughly almost 50%, plus or minus a couple really don't matter, but we've just fallen off the cliff here, down to 43%. Well, an awful lot of people not only are unemployed, but they're so discouraged they simply have stopped looking. If you counted the people who have exited the labor force, they don't count in the definition of the unemployment rate. To be unemployed, you have to be out of work and looking for work. That you're simply out of work sitting home waiting for the phone call doesn't qualify you as being unemployed. So if you count these people in the system, I estimated back in the summer that there's probably close to 16, 17% unemployment rate right now in El Paso County. If you count the underemployed population, it's much worse. What's underemployed? PhD in nuclear physics, flipping hamburgers and McDonald's. Clearly that person's skills are not being fully utilized. I don't have a number for them, but if you throw those in, the number will be higher again. So we've got a serious unemployment number here going on in El Paso County. One of the things I point to first and strongest about is the change in manufacturing employment. Manufacturing in the county, we've lost 54% of our manufacturing jobs since 2000. Not making the numbers up. The employers provide these numbers to the government. They simply tally them, and this is what comes back. State national, it's about 33% of the jobs. Now, why is this important? When you make that automobile, what goes into it? Parts, steel, copper. Where are you going to get the iron ore? You got to dig a hole. There's mining jobs related. You got to transport the ore to a refinery somehow, smelting operation. Someone then stamps it out into parts, which get shipped to another place, which get assembled into sub-assemblies, finally to a final assembly, shipped again to final delivery. The day after you buy that car, what are you doing with it?